Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a little girl named Daisy. Daisy lived in a cozy little house in the middle of a beautiful forest, surrounded by tall trees, sparkling streams, and fields of colorful flowers. Every night, Daisy's mother would tuck her into bed and tell her a bedtime story. Daisy loved bedtime stories, and she always listened with wide eyes and a big smile on her face. One night, as Daisy was drifting off to sleep, her mother began a new story. Once upon a time, there was a magical kingdom called Fairyland. It was a place of wonder and enchantment where fairies, unicorns, and all sorts of magical creatures lived. The ruler of Fairyland was a kind and wise fairy queen who loved all her subjects equally. One day the queen received a message from the king of the dragons. The king of the dragons lived in a distant kingdom far beyond the mountains, and he was very powerful and fearsome. He had heard that Fairyland was a land of great beauty and magic, and he wanted to visit and see it for himself. The queen was a bit nervous about having a dragon visit her kingdom, but she knew that she couldn't turn away a guest, no matter how intimidating he might be. So she sent a message back to the King of the Dragons, inviting him to come and visit Fairyland. The King of the Dragons was overjoyed by the invitation, and he set off a long journey to Fairyland. He flew over mountains, valleys, and forests until he finally reached the gates of the magical kingdom. As the King of the Dragons flew into Fairyland, all of the fairies and unicorns came out to greet him. They were a bit scared at first, because they had never seen a dragon before, but they were also curious. They wanted to see what the dragon was like. The King of the Dragons was very impressed by Fairyland. He saw the beautiful flowers, the sparkling streams, and the shining sun. He saw the fairies and unicorns flying through the air, and he was amazed by the beauty and grace. The Queen of the Fairies led the King of the Dragons to a palace, where she served him a feast of delicious fruits and berries. The King of the Dragons enjoyed the feast very much, and he thanked the Queen for her kindness. The Queen then showed the King of the Dragons around Fairyland, pointing out of all the magical sights and wonders of the kingdom. The King of the Dragons was fascinated by everything he saw, and he asked the Queen many questions about how the kingdom worked. As the day turned to night, the Queen asked the King of the Dragons if he would like to stay in Fairyland for a while. The King of the Dragons was very happy to accept the invitation, and he spent many days exploring Fairyland and learning about its magic. Eventually, the time came for the King of the Dragons to return to his own kingdom. He thanked the Queen and all of the fairies and unicorns for their kindness and hospitality, and he promised to visit again someday. And so, the King of the Dragons flew back to his kingdom, leaving Fairyland behind. But he never forgot the magic and wonder of the magical kingdom, and he always looked back on his visit with fondness and joy. As Daisy's mother finished the bedtime story, Daisy was fast asleep, dreaming of magical kingdoms and dragons. And so the little girl's bedtime story came to an end, at least for tonight.